Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 56 of the Stable and Secure Home Games podcast. My name is Joseph. I'm doing another solo episode this week since Yazid is feeling better, but he decided he didn't want to talk to me this week, so he'll likely be back next week, and we'll have 2-hour conversations once again. But in the meantime, I'm here giving you a probably 20-minute update, maybe less, probably less, on home game stuff for this week. Real quick, what's up with me? I'm not going to kind of go in depth. I have no one to really bounce off of again, but been wedding planning and stuff, which has been stressful and expensive, more expensive than I thought it would be. Just the planning of part of it is actually costly, which is strange. I tried unsuccessfully to get a PS5. I know I said I wasn't interested in one, and then I saw gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima running at like 60 FPS on a PS5 and decided that combined with the Demon's Souls remake was all I needed. But yeah, tried Walmart and a few other things and could not get a PS5 like many others. Also played new Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War. I continue to hate Call of Duty while simultaneously loving Call of Duty. And the new MacBook. I just got a new MacBook like literally 20 minutes ago. I didn't think it would get here today, but it did, and it's currently transferring over stuff from my old one, so very excited to see if I can tell a difference from my 6-year-old MacBook that it's replacing. But anyway, for home game stuff, basically this whole week for me was just focused on certificate generation stuff, and to kind of review where I'm at with that. It was, I can, from the command line on homegames.link, I can generate certificates, TLS encrypted certificates for individual users of home games. So someone can go sign up on the website and then they get a username. Given that username and some login info, homegames.link was able to generate a TLS certificate for this person and send it back in an HTTP response as a zipped file for the client to just, download and keep locally. And so that was kind of my proof of concept, and I wanted to go forward with that in a more automated and sustainable way. And the kind of update there is I ended up using AWS Cert Manager instead of building kind of my own custom service. There's a few reasons for that. So the first, I guess I would say generally speaking, I don't know what I'm doing. I know generally speaking what I need to be doing. I need to be generating these certificates for people so they can be, they can have secure connections on their local network and they can have all these other browser features that we currently don't have. But I don't know enough about the specific technical aspects of encryption and certificate generation and limitations of what I'm doing. I guess I don't know what I don't know. So just kind of generating stuff on the CLI and trying to parse some sort of output from that and provide the files in a response and then delete them off of disk. It just seemed like a lot and not super sustainable. So AWS Cert Manager is a service that AWS provides, that Amazon provides, that allows you to do basically what I need, which is creating certificates, renewing certificates, management of them in that kind of a way. So as kind of another proof of concept, I set up the test.homegames.io website that currently has, the new version of the home games kind of homepage site, like main website. That stuff has a sign up form, and when you sign up, there's a little modal that comes up and you sign up and all that kind of stuff. And then you have a settings button and you click that settings button and you get a little modal that comes up there and you can click get certs. And get certs will make a call to homegames.io's backend, which is just a node server. And then that will contact AWS and say, hey, does this person have a certificate? If so, retrieve it for them. This was a question early on. I didn't want to store any certificates for anybody, so I didn't want to provide retrieval. It would basically always be creation, but I don't know if that's actually a good idea. So anyway, with AWS, we get retrieval, so I'm not actually storing any of that stuff. None of that stuff is stored on a home games server, anything. So what am I saying? Oh yeah, right, we have retrieval. And so basically we can just say, hey, we have this person who logged in and we need to associate in some way a certificate with this person. And what we could do is have a database record, use Dynamo or RDS or something like that to actually store data. But that kind of goes into the thing we talked about, or I talked about last week, is I really don't want user accounts at all. Like, I don't like having any kind of data on our side, really. But it's kind of a necessity of all this stuff. So in a world where I don't really even like accounts in the first place, I didn't want to keep adding more to that and add database records and whatever else. So I realized with the existing Cognito record in AWS, we're able to set custom attributes. So there's attributes already like phone number, email address, name, and all that kind of stuff. So you can add a custom attribute. So the custom attribute I added was cert ARN. ARN is kind of like the unique identifier for an Amazon resource. And so with that association, when that person clicks get certificates, homegames.io's backend will say, hey, find the certificate, or find this Cognito user for the person who just logged in, get the certificate from their cert ARN on their record. And if they don't have one, then create one and associate it with this record. So I think I can still build my own service, kind of like a certifier service. I think for anybody who, maybe this is a very rare use case, but basically somebody who has access to some sort of certificate authority service thing, like certificate manager from AWS, or if there's some sort of Google or Microsoft alternative, I don't actually know, but basically some sort of service in the back end that can create these things and some sort of, interface for that backend. So, or for that certificate creation. So if you have some sort of website or some sort of app where you need to generate certificates for each user or a lot of people based on some sort of namespace or something like that, this is basically what the service does. I don't know if that's useful for anybody, like I said, but it's something that I think just for us, we need kind of building this out into its own service. So either the game server on startup can contact this thing over HTTP and get its certificate data, or the homegames.io stuff can talk to the certificate generator. Basically, you can get certificates either way, but the game server would get them kind of automatically and do a whole thing. But the whole point is this will be a standalone thing that we will build that communicates with, at the moment, AWS Cert Manager, and like I said, create that stuff and retrieve that stuff for people. And again, the whole point of this is so the Home Games game server and the Home Games app server can both have the certificates on a local directory, so they can access them to provide encryption over the data, to have a secure connection, so we can get browser features. Oh, right. So one of my notes here is cost. So I would say we at this point we already have cost in the sense that we have domain registration fees, we have EC2 instances that everything is running on. There's a fee for that stuff. We have a small fee for Cognito because we don't really have many users, and I don't know how they actually charge, but I would assume it's a small number every month. My point is we have some sort of general fees, but not really anything associated to individuals. It's not like one user or at least we have the data for, like one user has X cost on us, or me, I guess. But with the certificate generation stuff, up to so like the Amazon pricing model, they start at 75 cents a certificate to generate a certificate, and then as you generate more and more, the cost goes down and down. So ideally, if we were to ever become super popular and have millions of users and stuff, that cost wouldn't hurt us as much as it does now, or at least on a per user basis. Ideally, at that point, we'd have some sort of revenue and ideally profits or something, basically just enough to sustain this stuff at some point in the future. So if that ever becomes, a real concern, hopefully we have some sort of way to counter that. But yeah, there's kind of a direct cost per user at this point. Every certificate generation costs about 75 cents. So let's just say, I don't know, count the rest of the stuff and 85 cents a user. I really have no idea. But just kind of wanted to mention that it's probably the most expensive thing that we do at the moment, and this wouldn't have been a thing with creating my own service that used, something like Let's Encrypt. I don't even know what the limits of Let's Encrypt are, but this was easier to set up, and I guess that's kind of the thing I also wanted to talk about is easier to set up. So when me and Yazid started this whole thing, it was kind of the mindset was essentially everything that we are using, we should build ourselves to kind of like fully understand how everything works. It's kind of like a toy project for us, right? Like just to better our understanding while building something cool, everything is built by us. And I think to a point that still makes sense. But at the end of the day, not everything needs to be created yourself. It's not like creating our own certificate service and parsing CLI output and all this kind of stuff is really going to benefit us. And realistically, it would probably add weeks or months to the total time for all this feature to be ready. The feature being TLS encryption over everything. So yeah, it's kind of the whole thing of, if it's available today and we can just pay money for it and it's easier and it saves us this much time, and building it ourselves wouldn't give us that much of a benefit, then I think it makes sense to use a service, while also kind of keeping in the back of your head that you're depending on a service to do this stuff for you. And any change that they make, you're kind of just a victim to. You don't have the authority to change anything really. So that's just kind of the pros and cons and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, my point is, using Cert Manager, I think, is a good move for efficiency. Maybe Yazid disagrees. Maybe he's not even listening to this. But if he disagrees, I would like to know why, Also, earlier I mentioned limits on Let's Encrypt, the certbot stuff. And speaking of limits, so yesterday, I was testing and I generated maybe 10 to 15 certificates over the course of 90 minutes or so. And then when I created the 16th one, I got this error. And it was just, you have gone over your limit, contact Amazon or AWS support, for help or whatever. And so I went to the quota page of Certificate Manager, and I didn't see any limits that I had broken. Everything was like, there's a total amount of certificates that you can generate, I think, which is 1,000, or at least the default, and then per year is 2,000. So I don't know how you would generate more. Maybe I'm getting these numbers wrong, but my point is, it had like a comma in it. I generated 15 certificates. So I wasn't really sure what limit I broke, but either way, I contacted Amazon support and they got back to me saying that they would need to talk to the tier 2 support or whatever. I don't get it, but anyway, hopefully that all goes well so I can keep testing that stuff, and that thing will all go smoothly. Oh, so one other thing. One other thing. On the website last week, I talked about not really knowing about what I wanted to do with the UI, with kind of like a modal. People expect some sort of user account management when they have a user account. And like I said last week, I think the whole user account thing is just out of pure necessity, and we don't actually care about having a user account, but I understand people do. So because people expect certain things out of this, I realized we should probably have a forgot password, change your email, and probably some other sort of basic settings and stuff like that for someone's account, kind of alongside this get certificate thing I was talking about earlier. So that's kind of like the account/user management thing in my head at the moment. So I have a very basic settings modal right now, like I mentioned earlier, with a get certs button. So I'll be adding, reset your password and all that kind of stuff. One other thing I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, but people can still sign up with the same email address as someone else. We have no unique user requirements at the moment. So I need to figure out how to do that validation on an email address to make sure no one can sign up with someone else's email address. Need to make sure that you could, now that we have the certificate generation stuff, which like I said, it has a cost, I need to make it kind of harder for people to automatically sign up and cost me money. So I'm going to add some sort of validation step to the sign up where, through your email, you have some code or whatever, something like that. So hopefully that kind of deters people from running up my AWS bill and running a bot that creates a bunch of certificates or something like that. But yeah, we'll see. I guess that's pretty much it for home game stuff. It's really the certificate generation stuff. I also wanted to add a timeline. I think I mentioned this with Yazid a few weeks ago, but while I'm redoing the website, I think it would be useful to kind of state the features that we have, because we really don't. Kind of this thing of like, we support sound, we support clicking. These are like kind of like as a game platform for developers, kind of the features that we have. Clicking obviously is a very basic thing, but it is technically a thing that we support. So kind of having some sort of thing of, this is what we're building, this is what we've built, and this is kind of when we're expecting generally things to be ready. So it would be, for example, like the end of this year, TLS encryption for whatever stuff. Next year it would be maybe an Android app, an iOS app, something like that. Whatever other certain features that I'm not thinking of at the moment, but things that Yazid and I have probably talked about. So just adding that stuff on the website for people who are at all interested in kind of anything beyond like a surface level explanation of what stuff is, which is pretty much what our website is at the moment. Some sort of like, I know technical stuff, tell me what this is type information, I guess. So not sure where I'm going to put that, what it's going to look like, what kind of information it's going to have, but always open to feedback. Yazid, give me feedback when you hear this, or don't, whatever. Okay, that's it for home game stuff. So now, song of the week. So my song of the week comes from the Future and Lil Uzi Vert album that just came out this past week. So my original song of the week was actually from this album. It's called Sleeping on the Floor by Lil Uzi Vert and Future, like I mentioned. I just loved that song. I love that song. I think it's interesting how Future has been doing this thing where he does something with his voice. He says a word or something, and then the producer or whoever repeats it in the beat, and it becomes kind of part of the beat. So in Sleeping on the Floor, there's a part where Future just starts saying swish, swish in the background, and that becomes part of the beat. Love that kind of stuff. I was playing that on repeat basically the entire week, and that was my song of the week, Sleeping on the Floor. But then the deluxe version of this album just came out today, November 17th, which I did not mention at the start of this. Today's Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. And so the deluxe version of this album just came out today, and I was just kind of playing it before I started recording this, starting at track 1, and I got to Heart in Pieces, and that is my song of the week. I love when Lil Uzi Vert sings. I love when he goes high on the notes, as they say. So I really enjoyed this song. I can't even really describe why. I literally just made it my song of the week maybe 30 minutes ago because I heard the hook. Anyway, that was the twist of events for this week. Different song of the week last minute, but from the same album, but the deluxe version. Anyway, that's going to do it for me this week. Back to kind of a more normal episode next week with hopefully Yazid, and we'll talk about what's been going on in his life for the past 2 weeks. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening. You can find us on the internet at homegames.io. We are on Twitter at homegames.io. As always, our music is done by our friend Tynan. He's Nytan on Bandcamp, Nytan on Bandcamp. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye. That was a week. Bye. Bye.